This podcast contains explicit language.
All right, this is Carlos.
This is Dave.
Oh, good. You actually came up this time. Two Fat Guys Talk Games. And friends. Again. Say hello, friends.
Yay!
Hello, friends.
No.
So our reintroductions. Girl, Kiki.
Hi.
Man, Richard.
What up?
Other man, Poe.
Oh.
Excellent. This is good material. Good material. All right. We are doing a panel today, a little round table, and prior to the show, we drew straws and had a big royal rumble and decided on the order. And I drew first. So here's my topic. Games with mechanics where you have to hold a button. Examples: Mario running, Marcus Phoenix running, Mega Man holding his charge, etc. What up with that?
You want us to interject?
No, I totally not. So here's the thing. You know, you are totally right. I was supposed to start talking about it. Here's the thing.
Job.
When I play a Mario game, I can't play it that long because my thumb gets sore because I always run. Because there's no benefit to not running ever. In Gears of War, there's a strict difference between walking and running, so you don't always want to run. In Mega Man, you arguably always want to be charging if you're not doing anything else, which means I'm kind of doing this autonomous task that the computer could be doing. Don't really like it. I kind of want holding the button to be meaningful and not just because. Now what up?
Well, I kind of agree with you because being with little baby hands, it's really hard for me to hold and run or jump and stuff. Like, for example, with Mario, that can get really annoying, and my hand gets tired. So I'm just like, that's balls. Especially, like you said, most of the time you want to be running anyway. So what's the point of not running? Like, I don't understand.
If you guys remember, when we had people over to play New Super Mario Bros. Wii, they did poorly until we told them, just hold down the run button. And suddenly they were functional members of society.
Yeah, but in Super Mario Wii, whatever game that's called, forgot. Anyway, that was also horribly designed, and by the time we were running, we were all running into each other and into our deaths.
Seconded.
Alright then. Well, what about Mega Man?
Speaking about holding the button in general, and, you know, Marcus Phoenix running, let's even go to the whole shooting part of that. Myself, I've had carpal tunnel syndrome in both my hands. Holding down, or having to hold down the shoot button for minutes sometimes with some of the guns, it hurts. I don't really agree with you, Carlos, about the whole running aspect of it, but it has reached the point where our analog sticks are good enough to just allow it to go.
You know, I read somewhere, I think it was Serlin's forum, and I think it was Kyan, the guy who designed I Want to Be the Guy. Hope he doesn't mind me mentioning his nickname. He said that he kind of feels like holding the button in Mario makes you feel like you're indicating you want to run, like you're actively, I don't know, exerting to make this happen. Thoughts?
No.
I don't know. I've always played several Mario games, and I've just randomly just held down the button, and I've just played that way. I never really thought about it, and it's never really bothered me. And the physics between jumping while at walking speed and jumping while at running speed are two completely different things. And there is no way that I can play it, like, to make even precision jumps anymore at the walking speed. I do everything at the running speed, and I always have that button held down, no matter what. And it never really occurred to me that it was ever a problem. I do get the shooting bit, especially, you know, like the more modern day shooters, Gears of War, Halo, Call of Duty. You know, you're holding down the trigger button for, you know, minutes per match are spent with your hand pulling that trigger. And you know what? It's like, I find myself having to fire in bursts anyway because, one, it's effective, and two, I don't have to sit there. You know what happens when you pull your index finger, you feel it in, like, your wrist, right? Has anyone ever felt that? No? Maybe just me?
Possibly.
it just happens. You know, it's just a natural human reflex of life. Even if you don't feel it, just hold your wrist and move your index finger. It happens. This is where the carpal tunnel syndrome comes from. You know.
Someone's creaking in their chair.
Oops.
No worries. But yeah, like, I've fortunately never had carpal tunnel, but I sometimes do feel it in a console shooter when I'm pulling the analog trigger. Like, there are times when I've considered mapping that to the bumper, thinking that'll be easier, but then I'll lose whatever functionality's on the bumper. But the only alternative, though, there, is that the game would auto-fire for you whenever you move your targeting reticule over someone, and that has its own share of challenges. And
That would be lame.
Yeah.
My only thing to say to like combat this would be to make completely customizable controls for console first-person shooters, or shooters in general. Why does the trigger button have to be the firing button? Why not have it so that you can customize it to be another button? You know? It's not...
Why does it even have to be a pad? Like, why can't it be a keyboard and a mouse?
Right?
There you go.
It's not as if the consoles of today, with the exception of the Wii, aren't already computers, or can't use PC control functionality anyway.
The Wii has USB ports.
I don't think it's fair not to say that the Wii's not a computer. It's just a retarded computer.
It is slightly retarded. It's a challenged computer.
It is a challenge to the computer.
My name is the Wii. I play your games and you waggle it and it plays the game.
I just
God.
wanted to add to the button holding conversation that there are games that make innovative uses of these holding down buttons and charging buttons. One of them is my personal favorite, Bayonetta, where in some combos that you're doing, it's an action game for those who don't know, with over-the-top Devil May Cry combos and whatever. Basically, your moves will change depending on how long you hold the button. Sometimes you'll have a gun equipped to your hand that fires bullets the longer you hold the button after your attack. In other cases, if you hold the button, then do a dodge, and then switch to another weapon, you will continue the combo from the point you left off for having held the button. These are innovative uses of having the button held, and you will find yourself in high-level play, you know, constantly holding different buttons down to get different combos out. You know, so I still think it bears some kind of relevance. But it's unlike Mario where it's held down all the time.
I don't have an issue where holding the button is a choice. In Mario, it's really not, unless we're talking about certain areas of Mario 1. Maybe. And even that game, I hold the run button the whole time. And in Mega Man, I hold charge whenever I'm not doing anything else. And I kind of wish the game would just auto-charge. And there are some games that have done this. A Capcom shooter called Mars Matrix did it. I wrote about it on Bitmob, shameless plug. And I think we're good to move on. Next person on the table, Dave. Go.
My topic revolves around games having their endings either changed or extended by DLC. Granted, the most relevant thing right now to that would be the Mass Effect cop-out. I haven't finished the game myself, but I don't agree with them going and basically bending to fan whining. That's the way they want the game to end. Shut up, play the game, or don't, and leave them alone. However, games like Fallout 3, for example, they sort of copped out on that one, but they always had the idea of giving out DLC that would extend the game, so they changed it to fit with the DLC. Not as much of a cop-out, as much as giving you the ability to just continue on with your character. I really am getting tired of it. I like DLC when it comes to certain things, but in the end, we're really not getting a full game anymore.
Does this include where an ending is locked behind a DLC?
Well, the Prince of Persia example is definitely a good example of that, because they cut the development early and then forced to buy a 1,200 Microsoft point or whatever its equivalent is for PSN, but we had to buy the ending. It was just, and it was obvious. It's, oh, look, here comes the sequel, sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm not really cool on an ending being locked behind that gate. We did watch that extra credits recently about DLC, where they talked about why Day 1 DLC exists, but this is more about endings. And yeah, it feels like a big cop-out, like they're like, holy shit, cliffhanger, Give us money. Will Link survive this fall? 1,200 points. And he lands on his feet. Yes! Sweet.
You donated $5. He only broke one.
Look what you've done. He's crippled for life. 500 more points, please.
You donated 10 cents.
The Mass Effect example. I think one of the reasons that a lot of people are getting so bent out of shape is, for anyone who's played the Mass Effect series, and I'll keep this spoiler free, is that the characters that you find in Mass Effect are generally, I've tended to think, very well written and very endearing, comparable to some of the best novel characters that you can find. And a big part of that was the player's reactions to the character's stimuli in the game. You know, you get to make choices. This is obvious in the series. And the fact that we're now, probably, most likely, it hasn't been determined yet, but most likely have to pay in order to get the proper closure that we didn't get with what we have now. You know, that's just, I understand the artistic direction bit, where they don't want them to change the ending, because that's like saying a novelist writes a book, and the book is out there, and fans are so mad at the ending that they force the writer to change his own story so that it can fit their needs. You don't do that, right?
I demand George Lucas replace every character with an Ewok.
Yes, right? Star Wars. But the question there is, are games different in that way? No?
So let's say you're playing through the Wind Waker. You reach that epic finale, spoiler warning, where the ocean is collapsing around you, and you and Zelda have to fight Ganon one-on-one, and shit's about to go down, and then you gotta pay money to see what happens.
That would be kind of a piss-off, yeah.
I paid 100% for my game, so give me 100% of my game.
I like that philosophy.
How I see it. Capcom.
Yeah, fuck that noise. All those characters. But alas, are we going to... Sorry, messed up my sentence. More on DLC endings and whatnot. Anyone?
I just wanted to kind of end it with what Dave said. If he doesn't think that games should be any different than novels in the example that I gave, then it is proof that games are moving more toward an artful side. That games can stand as a form of art, because apparently you don't change art. If it can be changed, then it wouldn't be art, would it?
Well,
George Lucas changed Star Wars. And I'm not even talking like
Yes.
the sequels and whatnot. Even the original, in the original theatrical release, the episode 4, A New Hope, was not on the top of the scrolling story. That was later, but before all the big remakes and revisions. But it's still Star Wars. Or is it?
Actually, that made it into the home version. That was the first time you saw it was VHS.
True, but it wasn't in the theatrical original. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but couldn't you say that games are always originally an art form? Because, especially like RPGs and whatnot, they all have a story. Like, thinking back to RPGs, before there was even DLC, they were all had their own finite ending and stuff, and you couldn't just be like, well, add to it. It's just, that's the ending, that's it, unless they make a sequel to the game.
I think
that's part of the problem, really, with DLC today, is they are trying to make up for what they're losing from supposedly secondhand sales. With the DLC, day one, later on to try and change the ending so they could bring in a new game, it's almost like a get-out-of-jail-free card. You want to change the ending to fit the next development of the game? You do it. You want to add in a whole bunch of broken-ass stuff? You do it. And on this one, I'm going to point squarely at RPGs. The Tales games, really any JRPGs in general, you can basically pay to win so you don't have to grind. That's a whole different flaw, but this makes money.
I think all games are art, even if they don't have a story, because that interactive module of interactivity is an expression of form and thought and function. That makes it
I always thought that.
It could be a square jumping on vaguely geometrical platforms. That's art.
That is the most beautiful art in the world.
And it has DLC these days.
That Square's DLC is the most beautiful art in the world.
It's
Will
like...
Triangle love Square. Actually,
this is the Mona Lisa. It
Gears of
is
War 3...
however many years old. I am now going to draw a hat on it. Please give me $5.
In Gears of War 3, money determined the fate of a character. Spoiler alert, Carmine lived.
What?
Because more people bought Carmine Lives shirts for real money.
That's pretty.
People.
Shut up.
And that
Clayton
was
Carmine
a
Dawson.
comment from our guy underneath the stairs.
Yeah, what is up with that? Alright, Dave, you good with your topic? Do you want to talk more about it?
No, I'm pretty much good with that. It's just, plain and simply, it's nonsense. It's got to stop. And they should not redo the Mass Effect ending, even though I haven't seen it.
Here, here. Kiki, you're up.
My topic was pretty general. Basically, favorite Zelda game and why, and how it kind of progressed as to what the now kind of story timeline division thing happened. Like, if people are cool with that,
the
if
newly
they're
released
not.
timeline with the branches.
Yes.
Okay, start us off.
Alright. For the longest time I didn't play them, but after playing a whole bunch of them, I have my favorites and stuff, but after seeing how the timeline kind of branched off into the three, I was just like, holy shit, that actually makes sense. But, like, after playing the most recent one, Skyward Sword, I didn't play it, I need to finish it, but I'm just like, nothing's grabbing me, and I don't know if it's just because it's the same thing as the last couple, or if it's just that one specifically, because I've had fun with Ocarina of Time, even though it was more or less like, well, a 3D version of Link to the Past. I don't know if people agree with me or not, but that's how I see it. I thought it was fun anyway, but yeah, I don't know if
So which one's your favorite? That's what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Now I don't. That's hard. I would have to say I'll base it off of the most fun. I've had the most fun with Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time. I want to say Wind Waker, but that fucking boating shit was just brutal.
What about Link's Awakening? You've been playing that a lot.
Game Boy one?
Oh, yeah, that one was fun. I thought that one was really fun too. But I really liked Wind Waker. It's just fucking boating, just, God, Jesus Christ. And then finding the pieces, good God.
Wind Waker was very enjoyable, except for that. And I actually put down Wind Waker for a good 10 months, and finally came back to it, and did the Triforce Hunt, and got the nuclear bow, and got, like, the best final boss in gaming ever. And I'm glad I did it, but I won't forget that game made me put it down for 10 months, because I couldn't stand that.
It's too brutal, and that's actually the same thing with Twilight Princess. A lot of people didn't like how it was really straightforward. I liked it. I don't care. I was like, yeah, sweet, let's go. Let's do this.
Two
but
shots.
There was just some parts of it, I was just like, ugh, again, water temple, just like in most of them, I'm just like, I can't do this.
Fucking water temples.
Fucking water temples, man. Oh my lord.
You know,
but,
the Super Nintendo water temple wasn't that tough.
Well, no, that one was easy
temple
peasy, but every other one has been balls to the walls annoying.
Especially after that first Dark World temple, which is like the hardest dungeon in the game.
Jesus Christ,
and it's brutal. Not the Eastern Palace, the Palace of Darkness. That game was like, okay, bitch, you're in the Dark World now. Gonna kick the shit out of you. The boss is gonna be hard. In an hour and a half when you finally reach him. And it's like, here's an easy water temple.
I don't know, that
My favorite
boss.
Zelda is
I remember
Zelda 2.
the first time I went through it by myself, and I was just like, okay, I'm not winning this fight. I'll just roam around, try something else. And I went back to it last. I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, because once you get the hammer from that palace, you can explore the rest of the Dark World. You could finish that palace second last if you were so inclined.
I believe that's what I did, but yeah.
Yep. I remember I would get the better armors from later palaces, or get the cane that makes blocks in Palace number 6, so that I don't have to do that block puzzle in Palace 5, which took me a good 4 months to figure out on and off playing. I didn't have the internet at the time. It was pretty brutal. That Ice Palace was pretty brutal. Fuck that fucking piles. Still love Zelda 3. May or may not be my overall favorite Zelda. I also like Zelda 2, which I think gets a bum rap and is awesome. And they seriously need to make Zelda 2. That'll make me play Zelda again.
The only thing is, where are they going to stick Zelda 2 on the timeline?
After Zelda 2. Come on.
Well, since I haven't said anything for a while, I may as well throw my bits in it. But I think the last Zelda game I've ever played was Link to the Past. I don't think I've ever touched any other Zelda game after that, because to me, it's much better to watch people play Zelda games than to actually play it myself. I enjoyed watching Wind Waker too. Watching Richie occasionally play Majora's Mask, or Kiki and Carlos playing Wind Waker, watching Kiki play Twilight Princess, beginning of Skyward Sword. It all seems like nice, fun times.
Who doesn't like to watch
Zelda and Zelda 2? I don't know. I think I'll just say two things. Ocarina of Time is probably to fans like the Final Fantasy VII of the Zeldaverse, except it has like the credentials to be like the genuinely overhyped game it is. And Zelda 1 looks boring as balls.
Zelda 1 sucks so fucking hard. It blows. It has not aged well. It sucked even in the day. Fuck that game. Blasphemy, I know.
But
Kill him.
I'm sure Dave wants to tear me apart after saying that.
Not really. Ultimately, I've played all of them except for the DS and Game Boy Advance shitfests. Ultimately,
I saw videos of the Game Boy Advance one. It looks kind of fun. The
the DS one was the worst. Let me just say that.
Yeah, didn't like it. Neither of them.
The whole thing, I didn't like the controls, and the story was boring. I just didn't care. However, my favorite of all of them has got to be Ocarina of Time, followed by Link to the Past, and I like the new modern ones, except I'm bored stiff of Skyward Sword. It has things I like about it. I like the whole relationship with Zelda. I like the fact that for the first time ever there was actually, some interaction, some caring going on there. I liked that. Then I got to the actual game. Wind Waker, best ending to any Zelda game ever.
That final boss is so awesome.
Though once again, that navigating the frickin' ocean sucked ass. Worst Zelda game, other than, as I said, the portable ones, would have to be Majora's Mask. I will
thought Majora's Mask had great ideas.
Majora's Mask.
I don't know, I thought Majora's Mask had an interesting idea. Perhaps it executed it wrong.
For about
interesting
10 minutes.
No, that 10 minutes time compresses and
Oh God, no.
Oh God, no, not again.
There's always going to be time compression.
That's right, because time was once compressed, so it's everywhere.
Shut it.
Another good, I thought, was really fun final boss, Carpo. Do you guys remember when I was playing Twilight Princess and I had to fight Ganon on my goddamn horse, manly ass fucking Link and shit?
Oh yeah, that one.
That was a pretty good ending.
That was an awesome ass fight, and I was panicking like, oh my god, I can't fight on my horse, I'm terrible at this shit.
I can't control it.
I can't control it. But
Nilza could not aim that bow worth crap.
And when I was told that I had to fight Ganon on my horse, I was like, oh dear Jesus, I'm going to die. Like, this was not happening.
She played this on the GameCube, so she didn't have a Wiimote bow.
No. Oh, good thing I didn't have a Wiimote bow, because then I would be really suck-ass at it.
I think the Wiimote bow worked out very well.
I don't know yet, because I haven't gotten that far to try the Wiimote bow. But
maybe the one good thing the Wiimote contributes to that franchise.
I do really like manly-ass Twilight Princess Link. The thing that really killed me with Twilight Princess is turning into the goddamn wolf and doing that howling shit. I was just like, oh lord. Why?
Isn't he already beefcakes? Does he have to turn into a wolf?
Exactly. I'm like, was that needed? And you get Epona so late. By the time you get Epona, like, that you can use infinitely, you can teleport wherever you want. So you're like, oh, okay. That's fantastic.
Wait. Does Epona teleport?
No. But you can
that
summon Epona whenever at one point, because you get the horse whistle or whatever, because before you'd have to grab the grass, the specific grass to summon Epona, and she would come whenever, but sometimes you don't have the grass around you, so you're kind of hooped. But by the time you get the horse whistle to summon Epona whenever you wanted, you could also teleport whenever you wanted, so there was really no point of Epona. But I would go on Epona anyway just because it was fun riding the horse and apparently dying from fire arrows. Carlos, you remember that. Died off
man. Funny times. Are we good with Zelda, Kiki?
Richie, did you want to say your favorite Zelda?
Yeah, I'll punch it in. The order I like them in, I'm not going to name them all. I am going to say the DS ones are absolutely not. I will take a DS Zelda game if it is not touchscreen control garbage. Touchscreen
like the latest Kid Icarus
are starting to ruin everything I love about games ever. I can't do it. Unless it's Tetris or some crap, I can't do it. Even Tetris, I have problems. Give me my.
I would not fucking play touch Tetris. That's scrub Tetris.
That's scrubby Tetris. You play with the butt.
Fucking ghetto Tetris. If I'm gonna play stylus Tetris, I'm gonna eat Kraft dinner and drink dirty water.
Why dirty?
Oh shit.
I'm in the ghetto now.
I like Ocarina of Time the best. I am a little biased in the fact that it was the first one that I played. I was young and I was said, I heard good things about Zelda. Popped that thing in, I was like, oh man, right? I didn't play Link to the Past or the other ones until I got a little older. I actually liked Ocarina of Time, then Wind Waker comes next, then Majora's Mask. For a long time, Majora's Mask and Wind Waker were kind of bumping heads over which one was going to take over. I really liked Majora's Mask. I can't really put my finger on it. I just have a really fun time with it. Probably, I got ADD in real life. Yeah, this real life. So, I loved going off on the main quest and trying to figure out all this sorts of stuff to find the masks. I don't know. I just loved it. Then I guess it would have to be Minish Cap. I don't know why I love Minish Cap.
Richie, you don't have ADD. You haven't wandered away from the mic yet.
Oh, right. Okay, I get it. I see what you did there.
I made it funny.
But Richie, I thought your favorite was Skyward Sword.
That is actually one of my least favorites. You know what? I still haven't even finished it. I'm this close to just wanting to watch someone else finish it or just watch the rest of it on YouTube because those controls are unbearable to me. I can't do it. Other than that, I don't think it's a horribly made Zelda game, you know, save for the, what's it called? Inventory and shield management. Ugh, Christ.
Oh yeah.
I don't need this in my Zelda. I never needed it. Why do I need it now?
Can you dual wield shields like in Phantasy Star 4?
You have to upgrade your shield with actual things you find, like bugs and shit.
And your shield can break.
Yeah, your shield can break, so you have to get a whole new shield and then upgrade it all over again until you get the Hylian shield, where you don't have to upgrade it at all.
Hey, want to hear a piss off? Okay, so in the SNES version of Zelda 3, A Link to the Past, once you have the mirror shield, the likes cannot steal it. In the Game Boy Advance remake, they can't steal it. And if you lose it, you have to buy a new mirror shield, which the shield vendor now has, for like 600 rupees.
What?
Coincidence. I think so.
So they're just mass producing the Shield of Legend.
So, like, why did you have to go out on this journey and get in the first place?
I was actually thinking that those likes were working with that shield manager, so that you'd have to pony up money to buy it back.
That is brilliant.
Sounds
Shield hustling business in the Zelda version. That guy's the real villain. Capitalism.
Right.
Are we good with Zelda?
My last thing with Zelda was going to be, do you guys like how it branched off into 3 timelines?
I'm okay with the new timelines.
Yeah, it's cool.
I just hope the games refer to it now.
Yeah.
I've always just accepted each Zelda game in and of itself, rather than trying to put them together. I've just accepted them that way. You know, unless
Except for the ones that are obviously sequels.
Yeah, unless it's absolutely a sequel, like the Wind Waker series or Majora's Mask to Ocarina of Time or whatever have you. You know, unless it's that, I've just pretty much ignored the timeline. It doesn't really affect me.
Now we gotta talk the Mega Man timeline. No, that'll be another time. Okay.
Yeah.
Ho, you're up.
Alright. Just like how there's a potential at the end of this, multiple endings.
Are you saying this podcast might have multiple endings?
Yes.
If we follow certain criteria, there might be.
Excellent. Alternative endings. Go on.
Oh yeah, so lately a lot of games these days aren't just like rarely there are games where it's just one straight path, one straight ending, and there's no further deviation from it. Nowadays, game developers are doing this thing where, depending on what you do, you can you go down the path to get one of many different endings. Depending on what you do is right, what you do is wrong. Do you sacrifice a party member? Do you attack your guys 500 times in a row? Do you lose to this guy on purpose? And if you do you get a different ending, or is it just a game over? Or was that ending just an overglorified game over? I'm talking about you, Disgaea series. That's Disgaea series. The Mega 10 series are all there based on whether you go the lawful, the chaotic, or the humanity routes, etc. What up?
Okay, well, let's expand it past that. I don't think Mass Effect really falls into that category, to be honest, because what it sounds to me like you're talking about is choice in games and having to follow a certain pattern, like you're led around by your nose. Example, Star Ocean 2 had multiple endings, but that was more based on decisions you made and what characters you chose to take with you. That was choice. Versus, say, something like Star Ocean 4 or the Argest War, Trinity Universe, where if you do not follow a walkthrough, even on your third or fourth playthrough through the game, you are not going to get the best ending, period.
I know, that's what I'm talking about, though. That's what I'm talking about for the multiple endings.
And Mass Effect doesn't apply.
Yeah.
There's a game I played on PlayStation 1 called Grand Stream Saga, and it had two very distinct endings. Both were extremely melancholy. These were the same guys who did Illusion of Gaia, by the way. Quintet, who made very heart-wrenching RPG stories. And both endings, basically, spoiler alert, you had to choose between the two women who loved you. And there was no third option. There was no getting out of it. One of them had to die. No choice. And you got two wildly different endings depending on what happened. One ending, you moved on and healed the world, which was ravaged. And in the other, you go back in time to relive a past life to hopefully not make the mistake you made in the past life that ravaged the world. And there was no middle ground, and no good or bad. Those were your two choices. The game never had a sequel.
I'm okay with those sort of games, though, because that is still your choice. Yes, it's a decision you make near the end of the game, basically. But there's a difference between giving you a choice and having that develop how the ending goes versus having this is what you must do to get that ending. If you get one thing wrong, oh, well, you suck.
Yeah. I have to be so blunt about it.
Well,
let's be blunt about it. I mean, that is it's a way to keep you playing the game. They are artificially making you play the game over and over again unless you follow a walkthrough. That is not enjoyable to 99% of us. It's that 1% that they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to use a walkthrough, which is good in a lot of cases. But with RPGs these days, especially the JRPGs, let's look back to the past podcast, they want to do this arbitrary, multiple ending, but only to penalize you. It's not, well, you decided to make this decision, let's give you this. It's, you didn't do this. You suck.
Dave, how far are you into Cave Story?
I'm stuck where I was the last time.
Okay, nobody spoil Cave Story for Dave.
Got it.
In Cave Story, without knowing what you had to do, you're not going to get the best ending. But the game is short enough that a replay through is not as big a hassle, and in that bad ending, you're given the clues you need to make things right and to change fate. And that's all I'm going to say there.
I'm cool
That
with
is like the one time that works, where the game is designed around that mechanic and not designed to suck quarters out of you.
Yeah.
Time is definitely a factor. I mean, ultimately, okay, Chrono Trigger, one of my favorite RPGs, has, 18 to 26 different endings? However...
it has about 12, but some of them
with
have
variations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's even go with the main 12. You finish the game through once. The second playthrough is really quick because you have all of your advanced powers. Yes, it's a grind. Yes, it gets a little bit annoying, but you can get every ending as you play along just by going after Lavos at point XYZ. I don't mind
in Chrono
that.
Trigger, the very first ending you'll ever get is the best ending. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Exactly. Oh, you didn't interrupt because that's true. You get the best ending, and now let's go get variations. Star Ocean 2, that thing had 86 different endings. There's no fucking way most people are going to go through a game that many times to try and get each ending. That's what YouTube is for.
One of my personal favorite all-time JRPGs, Persona 4, has several different endings. And the first time I played that 70-hour-long game, I did not get a proper ending. And I did not know, I will not spoil it for anybody, but I did not get to know who the actual villains of the story was the first time around. Because of the same thing we were just talking about. There are absolute choices you have to make at a certain part in the game that if they differ, even in one choice, you will not see this ending.
But at one point you're asked outright who it was. And to be fair, I guessed who it was 5 minutes in. Without spoiling who it is, I saw him and I'm like, he's the killer. Ask Poe and Kiki. They were with me.
You got that shit right. I was like, what the fuck?
I honestly kept on guessing. Yeah, but that was one of the best parts about the game for me, was that I don't know, I kind of soaked myself in there and just kind of sat there with my eyes peeled open, just kind of sank in there and really let myself feel what the characters were talking about. Tried to put myself in the situation. And you know what? The production value of that game really led me to believe, you know what, it could be these guys, until I found out there was not one, but two different endings that I could get, that were better than the one that I got. And I think there's still more, but they're kind of in between. I got the worst ending the first playthrough. I was like, holy crap.
Same. I threw the fast the first time, just without even trying to stop everyone else. I just threw that other guy in.
When I finished it, I said, wait a minute, that's it? That can't be it. I was like, it's ending on such a melancholy note. This is not good. I'm not gonna stand for this. Little be known, there are extra endings, and it made me appreciate it that much more, only to find out that how I got to those endings. Then I just kind of said, this is one of the major flaws of this game, if it was to have major flaws, which it does. And this is my biggest concern. It should have been something that progressed naturally to the player. The clue should have been given to the player on what to say at this moment in time.
Yes, I think if they're going to give you the option for a quote-unquote better ending, they have to make it intuitive or interesting. Like the Cave Story example, where they clue you in. Or the Chrono Trigger example, where they just give it to you, and the other endings are just funsy, non-canonical things. As much as I hate to defend Star Ocean ever, 'cause it's garbage, Dave knows it. Having 80 bazillion endings, as I recall, none of those endings were objectively better or worse than each other, and depended on Claude and or Rena's relationship with the characters. And in Star Ocean 3, just fates.
Yep.
I didn't play 4.
Exactly.
And none of the endings were bad. I actually YouTubed a bunch, and they were just little variations based on who your characters got close with. Like when Audrey asks Fate to bone his daughter, and Fate is like, dude, that is a bizarre request for a father to ask of a strange man.
And it's because he didn't want his daughter to stay lesbian.
Which she totally was. Audrey looked like a samurai, dressed like a samurai, used samurai equipment. He was a caster. Bizarre. I love Audrey.
Pokemon Samurai.
Oh, Pokemon Samurai. I heard that game has multiple endings.
Oh, shit.
Oh, more on multiple endings?
Oh, I guess that's it. I think that's all I've said, and if I remember anything else, it'll be too late to think about.
Well, if you do remember something later, we'll come back and touch on it briefly. That counts for anyone's topics. Richie/Zeke/the Blue Lightning. Your topic.
Taco production!
Indeed. Tomorrow is today, yesterday.
I did have a topic, but you wanna know what? I don't really have anything to say about it. In fact, I have a really much better topic now that I think about it in retrospect. And it doesn't have to do with game mechanics in general, it just has to do with the future of games. There's a lot of talk that the Xbox 720 or the Durango or the PlayStation 4 or the Orbis, depending on where you are at in the timeline of how these rumors are coming about, will not
Speak English, man.
will not be playing used games.
Not gonna happen.
What?
It's still a rumor. I don't really want to get into that rumor as much as I want to get into digital distribution, aka things like Steam. Should they possibly be a more important future for games than actual physical copies?
It's funny you should mention that, because the lost episode we talked about before the show that Dave and I recorded was exactly on that topic.
Well, time compression. I went back in time.
The reason we didn't use it is because we kind of agreed, and it was a kind of a boring me asking Dave questions and Dave saying answers that I totally agreed with, and therefore there was no conflict or conversation. But if we put this in the context of the next consoles being potentially digital only, that might be interesting.
I mean, the point I was going to make was I was going to make something very specific. I was going to say, let's say that our next console generation is completely digital, and used games are no longer an option. Now let's forget for a second about all the repercussions that might have on the gaming industry, and start looking at because everyone can come up with cons in a second, but no one's going to come up and say pros like wildfire. Well, I don't know. I read an article on Kotaku a little earlier that brought up some interesting points I might have wanted to elaborate on, but never really had anyone to talk to about it. And now I have friends! So...
You just said you read a Kotaku article recently. You no longer have friends.
Oh.
You read Kotaku all the time.
It's gone.
I have to tell you to turn off that shit when I come into your house. Like, dude, seriously, have some decency. Put it all away.
Anyway,
Kotaku.
now that there are no used games, that means that every dollar being spent on a game is now going to the developer, which means that by that, I think that developers would probably be willing to take more risks than they have been during this current console generation. Now they have all the money for their games going to said games instead of losing probably half of it to used game sales. They have a hell of a lot more money to be throwing around and a hell of a lot more money to keep their workers motivated to keep pushing out content that people will actually want to play instead of maybe the same rehashed crap that we keep getting nowadays. Call of Duty.
That's the ideal, but I want to talk briefly about something Mike Z said in a Skullgirls topic on Shoryuken.
Okay, I like Skullgirls. Continue.
Yes, he talked about patching. The basic gist of his post was that in a patches make no money. So, and they cost money, especially on Xbox Live and PSN. I think it's just Xbox Live actually, where they charge a fee to patch your own damn game.
PSN does it too.
PSN does it too? Fuck that noise. I really wish that Steam console was made. Anywho.
Yeah.
And Mike Z basically said, patches cost money. They don't bring back money, much or if at all. So it's up to businessmen wanting to be benevolent and help the gamer out. And that's a difficult thing to ask in our society, which values people who really grub the money. Now, he said it a lot more politely than that, but that was the gist of what he said.
He also gave some interesting numbers on there. I mean, Xbox Live to do a patch is $40,000.
What?
14 grand for a patch.
Are you kidding?
No.
That can't be true.
It's true.
No, that's confirmed.
Holy
And that's
shit!
why.
You mean?
That's why a lot of.
I was just wanted to interject. Like, you mean like maybe let's take like this like the weirdest little game. Let's take a game that doesn't probably take too much to actually function around. let's take a Dynasty Warriors, just a numbered Dynasty Warriors. Let us say that there is a small glitch or whatever, that jumping about or whatever, or a bunch of glitches. No one would just spend 40 grand to patch one jumping glitch where it only happens in certain areas or whatever. Let's just say a game that doesn't really sell that huge. Here in the States anyway, Dynasty Warriors. A bunch of things wrong with it, but not game breaking, just a little annoying to make that patch is $40,000. That's about as much as that game probably makes a number here.
Just to confirm, I went to check that, and yeah, 40,000. Tim Schafer has blasted that publicly because $40,000. The shit.
Holy shit, man.
Well then, like, for example, with Red Dead Redemption, no wonder there's no patches and sorry, I just thought of the glitches that happen in that game and it's never gonna be fixed because it's fucking $40,000. So I can't fix the poor guy who's flopping around and he can't get up anymore until somebody walks by him, and hopefully you get to press A in time for your character to get picked up because you can't press the menu when you're on the ground.
And he's like, sir, please give me $40,000 so I can patch this.
You are telling me that the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, which is now on probably like its 5th or 6th patch, has now spent, I'm not good at math, 5 or 6 times 40,000 on patching this game alone.
200 grand.
What in the name of fuck?
And Microsoft justifies it, but they have to go through a certification process.
So,
sorry, Dave, could you say that one more time? Because I kind of talked over you there.
No problem. Microsoft justifies this by saying that they have to go through a massive certification process to playtest, and get this, playtest and make sure the game still meets their requirements to be on their system, even though it's just a fucking patch.
Noza, you were going to say?
I was gonna say, Soul Calibur recently just had that little patch that fixed little things, and that cost them $40,000 just to do that, and the game's only been out for, like, a little bit of time.
Yep. It cost Namco 40 grand to patch Soul Cal 5 and try to nerf Natsu, even though it apparently didn't work.
Okay, so wait a minute. Is that 40 grand per system?
No, per patch.
No.
Per patch on Xbox Live.
His question is perfectly valid. Ding, 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 yes.
It is 40 grand per system?
We don't know that PSN charges 40 grand per se, but I'm betting they're probably pretty close to equivalent for rolling it out.
Wow.
I mean, if Microsoft can bend you over and do you twice, why wouldn't Sony try you 3 times?
And it's this. That money is coming from either the developer or the publisher. I'm not sure which. I don't want to just assume to sound like a
Probably both.
Probably both. But my thing is, then you got used game sales, which the company, neither the publisher nor the developer makes any money off of. And it suddenly becomes more valid. If we want to keep playing the games that we love, and these guys got all this, they got to pay the people who worked on the game. Some of these people who are, 200, 300 members big, like Bethesda, I'm sure it's even bigger. Or people like that. And, you're dropping $40,000 on a patch. $40,000. $60 times what gives you $40,000? The equivalent to how many copies do you have to sell of this game in order to patch your game for $40,000?
Algebra.
666 copies.
It's a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
And all I'm hoping is that Steam gets so popular that it just runs this into the ground.
666.66 copies have to be sold to make that up.
I didn't think someone was actually going to do it. But there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to play video games? You want to keep supporting the video games you love? I don't even know. I haven't bought a used game in a long time.
Get the Steam Coffee where it's possible. And hopefully the Steam model is what takes off.
Steam is so good.
When there was that rumor Valve was going to make a Steam box, I was like, yes, give me my Steam box.
I was like, please take my money.
I would have thrown my money at them, driven up to their building, thrown a wad of cash, driven off. It makes it to the news.
You should have thrown it at the computer.
Yeah, throw it at the computer. Take my money. Why don't you take it?
My money.
Shove it into the little disk drive.
That reminds me of when I was an IT support guy, and people would ask, without me having remoted into their system, if I could see their screen.
You should know what I did in the last week. Yes.
That's mean. You're taking advantage of stupid people.
There's a grin on my face like the Grinch's.
Going all the way around.
Man, this has been an enlightening show, especially in these ending bits.
Two Fat Guys Talk Games aims to educate everyone, especially its own participants.
I will say that used games are not the problem that they want to make it out to be. Ultimately, if you can't keep a person interested in the game, they're going to get rid of it. And a lot of people get rid of their games within a week, 2 weeks, because that gets you the highest trade-in value at your local GameStop. I don't know. I'm mixed on the whole used games thing. On one hand, I like to buy games, the occasional game used, because they're usually massively cheaper by the time I get to them. Say, 6 months to a year for a couple of the JRPGs, I've got them for $10, $15. But brand new, they were still $45, $50. So, they've got to start meeting us part way. However, digital distribution, when it comes to that, they cannot be charging us $60, just like the retail copy with a physical medium. You can't do that anymore. If you don't make it cheaper, we're just going to simply give you the middle finger and not buy your fucking game.
That's true. You have to compensate.
Steam is usually good for that. You usually get $5 to $10 cheaper than the actual retail copy. Unless you're greedy like Bethesda and the Skyrim, make it $5 more.
That's so dumb. In some cases, you can even get it half off. I don't want to hype too many modern Sonic games, but Sonic Generations was half the cost on Steam.
Steam's great!
But you see, right there on Steam, we are seeing a much faster lowering of price and meeting the demand. 'Cause, I mean, they drop the price by $10, their sales jumps 10%. They make it half off during one of their Steam sales. They've just gained, I'm pulling numbers out of my ass, but you get a giant jump in sales when you do that sale on Steam. This is how it should be even in the retail market. The physical medium, just because Gears of War was popular when you first bought it, does not mean 9 months later it's $5 off. GameStop wants you to believe that it's still worth that price. You and I know it's not, and with digital distribution and getting rid of the scumbags like GameStop, we will actually see more value for our games, I believe.
Kiki, tell them how much the used copy of Soul Calibur 5 was.
Yes, I went there today, and recycled copy was $54.
Brand new one was what, $59?
There was no price tag, but I'm assuming yes.
It was $59 when I was there for waiting in line for Mass Effect.
I looked at the guy and I was
today.
like, "Are you serious? Like, no."
That is almost always how it works. GameStop will take a brand new game, let's say Mass Effect, charge you $60, you get it, you beat it, bring it back, didn't like the ending, whatever.
Hey,
you get $25 for it.
I just realized something. Richie, you work for GameStop. Oh wait, that's right. You're moving past it.
I'm leaving it.
Oh, okay, never mind. Let's continue trashing GameStop. Fuck you, GameStop.
Well, I mean,
I'm actually not going to say anything, degrading to GameStop. I'm just shouting out the truth, what they do. If they want to deny that they take a game that's $60, give you $24 for it, then put it back for $54.99, I'm not going to say nothing. I'm just saying, when you put it in the perspective, it looks a lot worse than it is.
What gets me are the games that have online passes that you have to pay the $10 extra for. GameStop only takes $5 off the retail price, so you're actually paying more for your used copy. Thumbs up, GameStop.
$54.99 plus $10.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and for our American listeners, all 0 of you, these are Canadian prices. We get ripped off on everything. Everything. Yep. People are like, $54.99? That's like 3 Soul Caliburs. Richie, final thoughts on your topic?
Really? You know what? I have made my New Year's resolution today was I am a gamer So, you wanna know what? This New Year's resolution was I was going to always look, cause I knew I was gonna buy lots of games this year, but I was always buying them for $60. I was being that oblivious person that says, let's go to GameStop, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. But you wanna know what? There are cheaper deals out there. To this day, this year so far, I've not bought a single game from a retail store. It's always been Amazon or Steam with some deal going on that I'm getting the better price. And you wanna know what? I'm ready for the digital age. I can deal, probably, most likely, without playing any used games. I've done it for a while for now. I'm ready for the digital era, I think. I think it needs some time before it gets implemented completely. I think that they need to work out the kinks. I think they need to consult Steam when they officially do it. Yeah, bring it on.
Valve, make a console. I'll buy it.
Pretty much.
My penis on it.
I support Valve in almost everything they do.
They could also do the Neo Geo Pocket thing where they put all the games on there.
Yeah, that thing we originally thought was $700. Sorry, pounds. Turns out it's a lot cheaper than that. And it actually looks like a cool little device that I'm not going to buy. But still. Speaking of which, that thing is preloaded with Generation 1 Neo Geo games. So we're talking Art of Fighting 1, Metal Slug 1. The shit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if with the
They
whole,
put the whole
you can't
library.
play reused games or whatever, I'm sure there's a way you can just ROM all that shit up and download one big ROM of everything somewhere, someday.
But the issue is then they wouldn't be able to charge you an arm and a leg for it.
Well,
Like,
couldn't they put it in blocks then, if they really wanted to? Like,
yeah, I know, like, a friend of the show, Shane, always says there's no reason Nintendo can't have their whole damn NES library up on fucking Virtual Console. There really is no reason.
Cheap.
For cheap.
You know, not $7 for Mario frickin' 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Nintendo, here's 7 of something. Sit on and rotate.
We do not like your rotate analogy. Oh, racism. Jesus. Alright. This is the digital age. Getting charged up the ass for old games. You can find for 50 cents at a bargain bin, or $300 from a collector. Alright. We're good people?
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Time compression.
Time compression. Signing off. Alright. And hitting the stop button now.
Yeah.